Hey everybody, it's Mr. Paul, and welcome to day 7, Tuesday, day 7. Hopefully, you guys got through last week well, and were able to get through the unit activity on Friday. I've been through and now have recorded them I've graded them and put them into the grade book so you guys can see your scores on those. If you haven't done it, you guys need to get on that and do that ASAP. All right. Some of you guys are still in the process of getting caught up. I'm just letting you know that we're making phone calls. I'm getting in contact with some of you guys, and administration is getting in contact as well because they're not going to let you just kind of like linger on. So you guys want to make sure that you got at least a 60% or higher in the class. Make sure that you guys are putting time in. They're really looking at how much time you're spending on Edmentum during this Plato platform, and if you're working on progressing through the modules throughout the course and keeping up with the work. So I know some of you guys do it at different times, and I'm fine with that. So if you're a night owl and you want to work on it at night, that's fine, but you still need to get it done. And some of you guys are only doing one and didn't get anything done on Friday. You guys want to make sure that you get, like I said, you want to get all caught up because the administration is still looking at dropping students for basically not keeping up and being too far behind where they can't catch up at the end of the 12 days. Because this semester crammed into 12 days is going to be a lot coming at you. So some of you guys can bring up those grades. Like I said, you want to get at least a 60% or higher. And if you're below that, then you should be looking at what you can do to bring those grades up. If you have anything that's not completed, you need to complete that. And if you have any mastery tests that are below a 60, then you should be retaking those. All right. I've definitely mentioned that quite a few times. And a lot of you guys have taken advantage of that, and it's helped out your grade. And like I said, I've been through and updated the grade book. So if you see something that's not accurate, please just feel free to let me know. Reach out to me either through email, or you can hit me up during office hours, or even during or on the Remind app as well. All right. So that way, I want to make sure that it's all accurate because, like I said, you can't really see the grade, but what I have up on Aries is what the grade is for you guys so far in this class. So that being said, yesterday you guys should have taken the post test for Unit 3. Today you guys are going to be taking the post test for Unit 4. So Unit 4 does cover quite a bit. It's a lot packed into like I said, 2 days worth. So make sure you guys take the time to study and go over and review it if you need to. There's these different forms of slope intercept form and point slope form and standard form. Have like a little sheet where you have those forms written down, because it is very beneficial, and it's going to be easy to assist you with these questions when they come up, if you have that available and handy for you guys. All right, so write down some notes, jot down some stuff on some paper, so that way, like I said, your formulas kind of go-to sheet that you can always refer back to. So that's always a good idea to do. So anything that I've been highlighted or talked about, make sure that you guys have seen it, worked on it, reviewed it, and like I said, jotted it down even better. All right. So we are on the week 2 tab. So you guys hit the home screen. Hopefully you guys are checking out the week 2. Yesterday, like I said, you should have done the post test and the module about slope and graphing. And then today we're going to be looking at writing linear functions and equations, and then the post test for that as well. All right, so there's really a week left of this course for this session. So you want to really get going on this. So as far as the notes for today, I'm just going to review some things that I thought were important for you guys to just for me to hit up upon again or reiterate for you guys in case you didn't get it the first time. So what are x and y intercepts? Remember, an x and a y intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis. So that's the x-intercept. The y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. So you're going to do whatever you need to do to if you have a graph, then you're going to look for it on the graph. So right here, this point, let me see if I got this right. Bear with me a second. Oh, maybe this is going to work. Maybe. What do we think? What are we thinking here? Sometimes technology is not our friend. I'm not sure what's going on here. All right. Progress. Here we go. I think we got progress here. So that right there is going to be the x-intercept. Where is it crossing the x-axis? At -2. So I can say x equals -2, or I'm going to write it as a coordinate point, and that would be -2, 0. Okay. This point right here is the y-intercept. And I could say y equals, and that's at 1, 2, 3, y equals 3. Or as a coordinate point, the x value is 0 and the y value is 3. So I could say it's 0, 3. For the next one, this y-intercept up here is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's at y equals 5. Or as a coordinate point, that's going to be at 0, 5. Y-intercept. And then my x-intercept, that is going to be at x equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. X equals 6, or as a coordinate point or an ordered pair, that's going to be at 6, 0. All right, moving on. So again, you can see some of the work already being written here. If I'm going to find the x-intercept, then I plug in 0 for y, which is what I did here. I put 0 in for y, and then I found the x-intercept, x equals 4. And then you can plot the point at 4, 0. And if I'm looking for the y-intercept, I put 0 in for x, which I did there. Put 0 in for x, and I get y equals 4. And then I plug the coordinate point at 0, 4, plug the point, and then you draw a line through those 2 points. So again, if you had to graph them based off of the x and the y-intercepts. All right, let's see if we can move this up. Maybe not much. I don't know what's going on with my screen's frozen. All sorts of things going on here. Wow. Here we go. All right, so the next one, if I plug 0 in for y and I solve for it, that becomes 0, divide both sides by 2, x equals 2, and my x-intercept is at 2, 0. For my y-intercept, I plug 0 in for x. That's what I did there, and I get y equals -4/5. Right now, that's obviously not a whole number, so I have to just do my best to put it in the spot where I think -4/5 is. I know that's less than -1, so I put it just below -1. And then you draw a line between those 2 points to graph it. All right, graph each equation by making a table. And what is the domain and range? Okay, so if you guys aren't familiar with domain and range, a domain stands for your x values and range stands for your y values. So just think about it in terms of alphabetical order. X comes before y and the letter D comes before R. So X before Y, D before R. So domain and then range. All right, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here. All right, so first off, what did I need to fix here? So you plug in these numbers for x, okay, and then we can solve and get our y value, and there's our ordered pair. Now this first one should say -2, 3. So I put a point at -2, 3. And then I put a point at -1, 2.5. -1, 2.5. Then I put a point at 0, 2. And then 1, 1.5. And 2, 1. All right. Then I'm going to draw a line through those points. Okay, and then I state my domain and range. Now, domain stands for your x values. So if you look at this graph, because it's linear and it is has a slope that's not 0 or undefined, and this arrow means that it's going to go into the negative direction. So all negative x values are going to be covered, meaning I could pick any negative x value and it'll have a spot on this graph. If we were to expand this graph and zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, you guys could see even more and keep going and keep going. So it goes to the negative realm, it goes to the positive realm, meaning positive x values. You can pick any positive x value and it'll be there. So what we could say for our answer is that the domain is, we say, all real numbers. Kind of abbreviating there. Okay, and my range refers to the y value. So when I think of range, I go and I move my pencil up and down like this, up, down. That's my range. My domain, I do this way, left to right, left to right. Where's that graph going left to right? That's domain. Range, where's it going? Up, down. Well, it's going everywhere up and it's going everywhere down. Okay, and that line means it's just going to keep going. So it's going to cover everything. Just like the domains, it was covered everything. The range, it covers everything. All real numbers. Okay, and we have like this mathematical symbol. It looks something like this. It looks like an R with two lines on the side, and that's our mathematical symbol for all real numbers as well. So just to give you a little background to some of that. So that's what's covered in that one. Let's look at the next one because it's going to be a little bit different. All right, so what do we got here? X is 2, y is 3. Because it's not changing anything, the equation is y equals 3. So no matter what value I choose for x, my y value is always 3. So if x is -2, y is 3. If x is -1, y is 3. If x is 0, y is 3. If x is 1, y is 3. If x is 2, y is 3. All right, and so when you get to make a table, you get to pick your x values, whatever x values you want. We choose these ones because they're the smallest and typically the easiest. Now, if you have a fraction, you're probably going to want to change it to in order to eliminate the fractions. So you got to pick your numbers a little bit wisely that way. All right, here, domain. Remember, domain is our x value. So with my pen, left to right, and that arrow shows it's going to the negative direction, it's going to the positive direction. That's going to cover everything. So we're going to say that's all real numbers. And I'm going to use my symbol for that. All right, and then my range. My range is up, down. Well, it doesn't go anywhere above that line. It doesn't go anywhere below that line. All it does is cover that value, y value of 3, or y equals 3. So that's the range for that one. All right, let's see. Next one. If x is 5, because that's what this says right here, x equals 5. So if x is 5, then it doesn't really matter. X is always going to be 5, and there we go, -2, 5, -2, 5, -1, 5, 0, 5, 1, 5, 2, right? You get the idea of what's going on here. Okay, so we've got a vertical line going straight up and down. And what are we going to say about the domain and range? Well, remember, domain is x values. It goes left to right, but this doesn't go anywhere left of that or right of that. So we would say that domain is x equals 5. My range is my y values. Y values go up and down. That arrow is going to positive infinity down to negative infinity. So that is going to cover all real numbers. All real numbers. Okay. All right. So again, a little bit about domain and range. You guys are going to see that. So make sure you understand what domain and range is. And it again stands for the x values for domain and the y values for the range. Let's see about them. What else we got next? All right, if you ever hear the term parent function, okay, parent function is going to be the simplest linear function. So y equals x or f of x equals x, okay, because we're talking about a function. So it's f of x. All right, I kind of addressed this already, but if we were talking about domains of a linear function, then the domains is going to be all real numbers. Okay, and then the range is also going to be all real numbers. Okay. You have a root. If you hear the word root, a root has a few different words that that go along and correlate with the word root. So it's also called zeros, or the solution, okay, or the x-intercept of the function. So if you replace the f of x with a 0 and solve for x, that's what we're basically looking for. Okay, where does the graph cross the y-axis? That is the root. Okay, so if we were to replace this f of x right here with a 0, which I did, and then I solve for x, I added 8 to both sides, divided both sides by 2, I get x equals 4. Well, that right there tells me that this is the solution or a root or the 0. So again, all of these right here are saying the same thing. 4 is the x-intercept. 4 is the solution. It is the root. It is the 0. Okay, it's just in some languages they have words that can be said. There's different words that mean the same thing, right? When this thing root has different words that mean the same thing. Okay, so think about it like a tree, and the tree where the root of the tree is like right where the ground happens. Okay, and the ground is going to be our x-axis. So where does that line cross that x-axis? That's going to be where our root occurs, or where think about that spot right there. All right, finding zeros of a linear function. Okay, just kind of already stated it. You take that y or the f of x, and you set it equal to 0, and you solve for x. So on the first one, okay, when I took y and replaced it with 0 and added 2x, divided both sides by 2, I get x equals 3. So that is a 0 for this equation. Okay, for the next one, place the f of x with a 0. Okay, then I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 9. Okay, and I get negative 1/3. Okay, root doesn't have to be a whole number. It doesn't have to be an integer. It could be a fraction. Again, where does that line or graph cross the x-axis? If you have something like this, y equals 13, okay, that means this is a line that is a horizontal line going left to right, goes through the y-axis at 13, and it's flat like this pen. Okay, it's going to go through the y-axis at 13. So that means it never crosses or touches the x-axis, which means it has no 0. Okay? Whereas the next one, f of x equals 4x. Okay, so if I divide both sides by 4, okay, 0 divided by anything is 0. Okay, so that means that it's going to cross the x-axis at 0. All right, so some notes for you guys today. Please make sure you guys go through those tutorials, go back through them a couple times if you need to, and come see me during office hours if you have any questions. And please get caught up if you are behind, because I don't want to have to see you guys get dropped, or a week into the session. When you guys could easily get this done. So it's just about putting the time in and keeping up with things and making sure that you redo things if you didn't do them well the first time. Okay. All right. Good luck, everybody. I'll talk to you later. All right. Bye.